All right, so you guys are going to be doing a new art project using color this week, and you're going to be using a program on your Chromebook called Pixlr. So the first thing I want you to do is open up a new tab and go to Pixlr, Pixlr, Pixlr.com. Now, Pixlr is a photo editor, so it's mostly used for changing photos and doing things with that. But you can also paint and you can also do quite a bit more with it. Now, this is not something that you have to download. Every time you open up your Chrome browser, you can use this program. I want you guys to use Pixlr X. There's no need to use all the tools that are in Pixlr E. So today I'm going to show you Pixlr X and a few things that you can do. So once you get to this first page, on the left-hand side, you see history. And if you had made something before, it would come up here. Now you can also create new, and that would take you to this page where you could choose the different sizes of pictures. But this is actually a blank page. So for our purposes today, I'm going to use a stock search. And since I like dogs, we're going to use the stock search for dogs. And there's lots of lovely pictures of dogs here. But, ooh, that's an ugly pug. But I'm going to go ahead and use this one. I'm going to use the web picture size just because it's a little bit smaller and it's going to be quicker to use. So I have this picture here. And on the left-hand side is where your toolbar is, okay? Now the first tool I want to show is properties. And this can change the size of the canvas or image size. Let me just show you how you would resize the image, okay? So it's pretty simple. Right now it is 853 pixels wide and 1,280 pixels high. Now don't worry if you don't know what pixels are. It's just how we size pictures on the internet, okay? So if I wanted to make it a little bit smaller, let's say I change the width to 800. And you notice the height also changes as well because the constraint proportions tab is on. So I can apply that and it gets just a little bit smaller, okay? Now, if I didn't have constraint proportions on, and for example, I changed the height to 600, I applied, this is what happens. All right, so if you want your image, anything in your image to remain the same proportions, you want to keep that constraint proportions tab on. I'm going to press Control Z to undo it. It's very easy. Now the canvas size, I do want to explain to you. The canvas is everything that you see for your picture, for your image. So let me change this canvas size. I'm going to change the canvas size to 900, width, and 1400 height. Now what happens is you see in the background there is this checkerboard area, right? This checkerboard area in the background. So anything that's in this checkerboard area, you can see in the image, right? And you'll see what I mean in just a second. Now let's go to the next tool, which is very useful, and that is Arrange. Now, because this layer here, and I'll explain layers in a minute, this layer here is locked, I need to unlock it in order to do transforms. Now that I unlocked it, now I'm able to transform the image and anything else that's on that layer. So in order to transform the image here, as you can probably tell, you probably already know, all you have to do is, click on the corner, and change the size. And once the arrow is on, I can also change the area. I mean, change where it is on the picture. And notice there's those purple lines. That shows me that is right in the middle. And if I go up and down, it shows me that this picture is right in the middle of my canvas. Okay. Now, if I move this outside, you can see that, yes, part of the picture is outside of the canvas size, but I can't see it. So I want you to remember that anything outside of this checkerboard area, you cannot see. Now, I can also do things like rotate the picture using the rotate tools over here. I can also flip it if I want to change the direction he's looking at. And I can also flip vertical as well, so he's upside down. I won't go into the other tools at the bottom. If you want to explore those, you can. Okay, so I'm going to close that down. The next tool is crop. And I think, if you edited a photo at all, you know that this is to crop what you see in the picture, okay? I'm not going to use that either, okay? The next one is Cutout. Now, this one is a good tool to use if you want to cut out a particular part of your picture. So here you have AI Cutout. And it is going to take a long time, but you don't need to worry about the AI Cutout. Well, the one tool that I do want to show you is this Magic Cutout, okay? So this Magic Cutout, it says remove. And what you can do, if there's a nice even background in the back, you can remove that. So I just click on there and look, see, the background is removed. And if I go back to the Arrange tool, I can move the dog over here. And let's say I wanted to have a different background picture in the back, I can also do that, okay? And I will show you how to do that in a minute. All right, so we'll just leave him here like this for now. That is the Cutout tool. Okay, there are other tools that you can play with, the lasso cutout or the shape cutout. So if I wanted to cut out a shape of a heart somewhere along here, I can do that as well. Okay, but since I'm on keep here, it doesn't really work out so well. Okay, but it's difficult to see, but in the middle here, the heart part is removed. Okay, so I don't really want to have a heart shape cut out of the dog. So I'm going to press again, Control Z, and that is undo. All right, the next tool down is adjust. I can adjust the vibrance, the saturation, and basically it just adjusts the color. All right, so if I want him really hot, like warm type color, if you remember the warm color schemes, I can adjust the temperature there to make it warmer, or I can make it cooler so he's kind of blue. All right. Again, I don't want that, so I'm just going to press undo. You guys can fool around with that if you want to. Next one down, that is filter. And again, it just filters out what the picture is going to look like, how clear it is, etc., etc. Again, you can play with it. Next one down is the effect. Okay, and if you play with filters in Instagram, or other programs, other apps, that's what this is. These are filters, effects. Liquify, this is another thing you can play around with, but you really won't need to use it. All right, next. Next is retouch. Okay, if there's something in here you want to retouch, you can do that, right? But it's really not necessary to use these tools either. If there's an area you want to blur, then you would paint that in here and you could blur it out, okay? But again, that's up to you. I'm gonna undo that. This clone stamp tool is interesting because, let's say I change the size here and I want to clone that dog somewhere else. You see, I can draw him up here, okay? Which is kind of interesting. I won't keep it though. All right. This is one of the most important tools which I want you to remember, and this is the draw tool. and there are different ways you can draw. Now, what I would suggest, which is very important, is that you do not draw on the picture directly, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to go over to the right and you see there's layers. I want you to add another empty layer on top of that, okay? So if you add an empty layer on top of that, you can draw on there. Take a brush and we'll change the color first. You can draw on that layer all you want, and even if you draw over it, okay, if I delete the layer or I toggle off the visibility, it doesn't affect that picture below, okay? So that is the brush tool, and let me undo that real quick and show you a little bit more about the brush tool, okay? So down below here, you have the size. So I can change the size to very large pixels, you know, so it's up here like this. It's gonna, sorry, it's not visible now. So it'll take some time, but I can, you know, color this whole thing here like that, okay? I can change the softness of it. Let me change the color. So it's a very soft type. Or if I go down, it's gonna be very hard. Let me change the size of that. All right. So this is something you can play around with, and the more skill you get at it, the more realistic type of painting you can do. The transparency, it's pretty, you know, like the less the transparency is, the less you can see of it. Okay, so whatever is underneath is going to show up as well. So I have that green color, and I combined it with this bluish color here, so it kind of turns into this color because of the transparency. So if you turn that all the way up, you won't be able to see any of the bottom there, okay? Now, talking about the color, I have just used these colors so far, but you can change the color to any color you want. And I want you to remember the brightest color is going to be at the right upper corner. This is going to be the very brightest color. So if I wanted a very bright red color, I would put all the way up here, and I can color that in. Okay. Now, if I change it, I want it a bit darker, and I could go down. Okay. So now I have a darker red. All right. If I wanted it lighter, kind of a light pink color, I would go over here and choose one of this. Okay. Now it's going to be grayer the further down you go. So the further up I go, the brighter it's going to be. And I have this pinkish color. If I went all the way over, the color is going to be white. Okay. And if you want to change, you know, you want a purple color, go down to the bottom and find the purple that you want and test it out. And remember, all you have to do, if you don't like that color, you press Control Z on your keyboard and you undo it. Very easy, very quick. That's why digital art, a lot of people like it, because they don't have to get out an eraser and do it. They just test it out, and if they don't like it, press Control Z and undo it. I can keep pressing Control Z and I can undo all that I've done if I don't like any of those. That's the beauty of digital art. Okay, and that's the beauty of working with layers. If I don't like that layer, I don't have to use it. Okay, all right, I can delete it. So I have clicked on here and I pressed the garbage can. I deleted that layer. Okay, I'm gonna add another one just for our next purposes. Okay, all right, and the next tool down I want to show is the text tool. This one I want you to pay attention to really carefully, okay? So I'm going to add new text. Problems are not stop signs, there are guidelines. So I'm going to go ahead and add my name. And And you can see here, I have the text and I can move it around if I want to. Some of the other features which you'll want to pay attention to are, I can use alignment. I can align it this way or in the middle. I can put it in bold. This one here is very, very important. You'll want to pay attention to this. You can change the font. We'll just use Brave-Hearted for today. So I have changed the font, and I can also change the color. The same type of, just like the drawing, I can change the color. I can change the size this way, make it really large. You can't even see it there. Yeah, so I've changed the size. I can change the line spacing if I want. Let me move this up to show what that means. Right? So I can change like that. I can change the background color. Okay. So I can do all kinds of things. All right. So I just want you to fool around with that and see what you can do. Now, these last two, again, you can play with these. You can add the borders or shapes or stickers. But I'll talk a little bit more about that when you actually do the art project. And you can also add an image. Now, I'm going to show you what I mean by adding an image. I'm going to go back to this pug picture here. Did I click the right one? So yes, I'm going to add a current. So I'm going to add it in there. Whoa. All right. So that was a lot bigger than I thought. Yeah. So I added to that current label, that current image here. I'm just going to change that. So yeah, if I wanted to add a new image, then I can add that there, to the picture. Okay. So let's say I wanted something a bit different. I didn't like what I had, and I can add it there. Now, as you can see, I can arrange the different layers, right? So this was above my name layer, so I couldn't see anything. Then. So if I want to see something, it has to be above that layer. Okay, this is important for you to kind of remember that if you're not seeing it, it's because it's being covered up most likely. So I want that dog back. That means I have to put that dog image above Mr. Pug, right? So there he is. And I can see both the pug and this other dog and my name. Okay. Now, I don't expect you to understand all the tools at once for the rest of the class period. All I want you to do is just play around with it, get to know it, get to kind of understand what we're going to do. And then when we do our art project later on in the week, I'm going to explain exactly what I want you to do. Okay? So that's all for today. Just go ahead, fool around with it until the end of class.